in Iran?
Well, John, what I can tell you is that this is a joint U.S.-Israeli operation, and I'm told by well-placed U.S. officials that this is the beginning of a long operation. This is not a sort of pinpoint strike. What we're seeing now are reports from inside Iran that there are dozens of sites within Tehran targeting regime headquarters, including the president's office, as well as other leaders themselves.
Thank you all for tuning in. Subscribe to the channel. This is going to be this should be a long live. I was woken up in the middle of the night. I was supposed to be at a casino somewhere having a good time with my girlfriend, but instead I find out that that piece of shit Netanyahu has got in our fucking gullible president's ear, and now we are striking Iran with Israel in an unprovoked attack. Tehran is what, 4,000 or 5,000 miles away from any border of the United States, and with whatever direction you want to circumvent the planet. There is no threat to the United States. When we voted for Trump, it was to keep us out of foreign wars. America first means we focus on our own borders. Yes, our border is secure now, but what about the people inside? The terrorists, millions they came across. We're having a hard enough time with ICE doing deportations in fucking Minnesota, let alone the rest of the country. Our military assets are better spent here securing our country, deporting people that should not be here. Why are we taking such a gamble and a risk attacking Tehran? And we don't necessarily know what's going to happen yet next. We don't know if the Russians will get involved, because if Iran falls, then that means Americans can put our Western forces and our missiles in Tehran, and damn near we're putting Russia and China in check. That was the whole purpose of invading the Ukraine. It was because we were getting too close. NATO, the Americans are getting too close. We're circling these countries. We have no business attacking Tehran. I don't care if you don't like the Ayatollah. They are an independent sovereign country. There's 190 other nations. Why aren't we attacking, invading all of them? They don't all get along with us. But it's because, like the rest of the countries, Israel has a list. Syria on the list. Libya on the list. Iraq on the list. Afghanistan on a list created by Israel. They used to do false flag attacks and provoke us into joining these unnecessary wars and doing this invasion. It's kind of like we're the muscle of Israel. You know, the reason that we're fighting the globalists right now is because they want to remove the Zionists from their control over the American arsenal. Nobody can deny that Netanyahu and Israel control our American arsenal. We attack, basically, it's point and click for them. They point and click and we attack. They don't need to have that much control over our military. I don't know what the hell Trump's thinking. We do not want to be involved in foreign wars. Now he's saying Americans might die. We already had a base hit in Bahrain today. We don't know who else or where else is being hit. We don't know how far Iran's going to go, and we're not even sure if they're alone. Israel thinks they have a strategic advantage. They have looking glass technology. That's the one thing that I've discovered from the Epstein files and research. They can see out into the future by, a couple of weeks. That's why there's always these Google searches for certain people that are occurring of weeks or a month before certain events happen. Magically, Israel and Washington, D.C. were Googling the names of the people involved weeks before this happened. People who are complete unknown nobodies. It's not because they planned it. It's because they used that Epstein technology. What do you think Epstein worked on when he recruited all the scientists from the Manhattan Project at Los Alamos and he took them to Zorro Ranch? Why do you think he built Zorro Ranch? What were they working on? High energy physics and mathematics so that they can see the future and predict the stock market? They're still trying to look into the future. What else did they discover? What is the word? What is the words genetic algorithms? What else does that translate into when you're trying to predict the future? Where do you think Bitcoin came from? So yeah, is that why Israel is so bold every year and they've been protected and they seem to always make the best moves? Yes. So is this a guaranteed win? I don't think so. I don't think we're willing. I don't think the cost is worth it. They can see only so far ahead. And if something outside of that occurs, then what do? We're stuck. And then if say Tehran doesn't fall, because what they're banking on is the protests from a few weeks ago. They're banking on air superiority to bomb certain parts of Iran, and then the people are going to overthrow the current government. Basically, it's going to be an Arab Spring. The problem is Iran is not dumb. All of the agitators that are being paid and being basically radicalized to turn against the government, they found them all and executed them. Who are they expecting to now run and overthrow the Ayatollah? They bombed the Ayatollah's mansion. So who are they expecting now to finish the job? We don't have ground superiority. There is no ground invasion of the IDF and American soldiers that's going to happen. We only can control the skies. That's it. That's not going to be enough to invade and take over a mountainous region like Iran, like Tehran. It's not going to happen. It can't happen. We do not need to be involved in these fucking wars. We have enough of our own problems. And this literally goes against every campaign promise we voted for. Trump did not lead saying, hey, a year in, we're going to get Iran. The fuck did Iran do? This is that Israel first bullshit. This is MAGA, make Israel great again. I'm wearing a MAGA hat because I want our movement back. I want our focus on our country. I don't want our focus on the interests of Israel. Fuck Netanyahu.
It is not clear who is carrying out those strikes, but this is a joint U.S.-Israel operation. And then we've seen there have been explosions in places that you would expect to see, near Qom, near Isfahan, in Bushehr, where there's a nuclear reactor. So there are strikes all over Iran taking place right now. Based on the positioning of the U.S. assets that we've been tracking for a number of days now, I would suspect that this first wave of strikes would be carried out by Tomahawk missiles. They may be coming from any number of the destroyers that are based in the Arabian Sea, or, of course, you're likely to have a submarine like the USS Georgia that can launch up to 154 TLAMs or Tomahawk missiles. The reason that you might start with those kind of missiles, and we've seen reports that over Iraq, there were missiles seen firing over Iraq about 12 minutes before they landed in Iran and the first explosions began in Iran. The reasons you would start with Tomahawk missiles and standoff weapons, which is basically weapons that can be outside of Iranian airspace and fire at targets, is that they don't know at this moment in time the condition of the air defense systems that the Iranians still have. They were badly degraded during the June strikes, during the 12-day war, but it is our understanding that they had begun to rehabilitate some of those air defenses with the help of Russia and China. Iran has a number of they had been building up their supply of ballistic missiles. They've hundreds and if not thousands of cruise missiles, but we have not heard reports yet of outgoing fire as of yet.
And this is exactly why countries like Iran absolutely have to have nukes. The United States does not have a history of unilaterally or even jointly bombing nations that have nuclear capabilities. Now, in my personal opinion, I don't think nukes even exist. I don't think they exist. I believe firebombs exist. I believe that there are bombs. There's a Moab, the mother of all bombs. I don't believe in radioactive isotopes and nuclear fish. I don't believe in any of that bullshit. I think that's all fake. And the countries that subscribe to it, they don't invade each other, but they have to keep each other secret. Also, they're the same countries that lie about going to space and they keep each other's secrets. Iran, if they only had a space program or they even pretended that, I mean, think about it. You could buy a nuke. You could buy nuclear missiles from Russia. You don't need to. Why would it take them a million fucking years to develop nuclear tech? It's not that fucking difficult. They are an advanced civilization. They have amazing scientists. There is no, all of this is a scam. It's all bullshit. But at least the threat alone would have basically made them treat the people in Iran the way they treat the Indians or the Pakistanis, who they assume have nuclear weapons. People say Israel is nuclear armed. With those maniacs and how they operate, they would have been used them if they existed. But it's still a good deterrent on paper. This is why no country can have them, or every country needs to have them to keep us from invading everyone. You know what they say? An armed society is a polite society. When you're dealing with nations, the only kind of arms that matter is the threat of a nuke. Whether they're real or not doesn't really matter. Just the threat of them alone is a great enough deterrent, obviously, because the countries that don't seem to have them keep getting invaded and then left for shit. Remember all the money and assets we spent attacking Gaddafi? Yeah, what did that do for us? How's Libya doing today? It was a beautiful country when he was in charge. What's happening in Libya now? How does Syria look now? Is there a McDonald's and a Burger King and a Taco Bell in Damascus as we speak? No, there isn't. It's like we literally demolish these places and we just leave them. There is no nation. We suck at nation building. That's why the Taliban took Afghanistan back. This is not our business. This is all because of Israel and the Zionists. The good thing is this: the globalists have now pretty much, they're everywhere. And the Zionists have been cornered to a very small sliver of the Middle East. The war between the Zionists and the globalists is almost over. This is one of the Zionists' last hurrahs. But they have bigger fish to fry. I don't even see the strategic importance of this attack in Iran. This is more so an ego boost because they put belt to ass back in June. I mean, this is ridiculous. Iran is so peaceful that they're killing their own good citizens. Those are not good citizens. Those are agitators. That's like someone saying America's a bad country because a bunch of BLM terrorists that tried to storm the White House, instead of Trump going into the bunker, he had American forces open fire when they were trying to burn down the fucking White House back in May 29th of 2021. That was the real insurrection, not January 6th. It was May 29th. Had Trump used our forces to mow them down when they were trying to storm the White House and they burned down the guards tower and the church, that's would you have called them good citizens? No, you would have called them terrorists. I call BLM terrorists because they are. They're using violence to inflict a political agenda. That's the definition of terrorism. Did Congress approve this? Absolutely not. And Trump doesn't. And that's the way our country doesn't work like that anymore. The last time Congress declared actual war against someone was World War II. So what was that? 43, 44? That was the last time. I know Trump was a tiny hat puppet. And you know what? I'm a Trump supporter. I love what he's doing when it comes to deportations. The rents are going down. My friends are going back to work. The crime has went down 60%. You can literally walk at the parks at night now. I didn't know how many illegal aliens were running up the prices for everything because it was increasing the demand when there was already a finite supply. And I didn't know how many of them were actually committing violent crimes like murder and then running back to their country and coming back with a new identity after 3 months. I didn't realize that's why the crime rate was so high, because they can get away with whatever. Now we know that. We've seen the results. We need more deportation. Why are we in Iran? Obama did that. I believe he's involved also. Yeah, phone loads of money didn't make friends. No, it didn't. We're in the end times. Unfortunately, every day is the end time for someone or for a lot of people, but the show will go on. There's never going to be a mass thing where we all die at once, but there are going to be places where a lot of people won't survive. Yeah, this goes above Trump and Bibi. I don't know. I'll be honest with you, not much further than Bibi. Bibi is kind of like the tip of the spear. He is what is he? The vampire king. I mean, if we're in the Matrix, then Bibi Netanyahu is Agent Smith, and the rest of the Zionists are just agents. And this is the Matrix. That's how I look at it. Anything to distract us from the Epstein files, anything, even if it means lives destroyed. This is the scary part about the Epstein files. I kept telling people, stop pushing for them to be released. They can't release them because if they do, well, then all hell breaks loose. There are certain things in the Epstein files the public is not meant to know. And I don't know why they didn't have enough foresight not to put all that shit in emails, but there's too much. First things first, the COVID vaccine files are in the Epstein files. We already found out that Bill Gates and Epstein were like, look, we got to get rid of the poor people. Poor people, everyone knows worldwide, poor people is it's code word for black people. Why do you think every day when you turn on your television or on the internet, all these black celebrities, actors, all these black people are just dying suddenly all of a sudden after they took the vaccine? See, it wasn't one size fits all. We all have different genetic makeup. Me and somebody white could take the same injection. It'll kill me. It'll just pass through their system. Might sterilize them for a few years, but they'll survive. But me, it would kill me because of my testosterone levels are elevated, higher than the other people that are taking the same injection. So they designed it to kill off black people. That right there makes sense. There is a black problem in this country. We've had one for the past 70 years. And there's really nothing you can do about it because they have American citizenship and they won't repatriate themselves back to Africa. So they made moves to mitigate the damage. And when we see those results playing out, we see it every day. That's in the Epstein files. All they're going to do is use that to beat Trump over the head and say warp speed was trying to kill black people. That's all they're going to do. Trump is racist. Trump's a Nazi experiments, Tuskegee. And we're going to just hear that shit until the black population, which was 13% in 2021, it's now 9%. We're going to have to hear that rhetoric for the next 3 years until they get to 3%. Their numbers are dropping that fast. But the problem is it's just going to be more of a distraction. That's why we did not need to release the files. They already have the poison in their system. Knowing it's going to kill them and officially acknowledging it, it's not going to help anything. It's not going to change it. There is no detoxing it. So that's why that's why releasing those files was pointless. And then there is no whistleblower. We can't make heads or tails of what they're actually saying or talking about. We can assume, we can project. We don't know. I'm reading between the lines. It sounds to me like they invented looking glass technology. That's one thing he invented that made him so valuable that literally world leaders are fighting over him and they busted him out of jail and he's still alive. Apparently they can't use the technology without him. Why do you think Maxwell is still alive and she's not in jail? None of them are. They're showing you that they have body doubles everywhere. Look at Jim Carrey. Rest in peace to Jim Carrey. But, he played the role of a lifetime when he played Biden, but you thought they were going to let him go back into the public realm and he could accidentally get drunk one day, feel guilty, and admit that he was Biden for a couple of years doing those speeches? They had to get rid of Jim Carrey too. The new guy has different eyes, different face, different voice. It's not even him. So we know they have body doubles. We know there's a lot going on. We got 2% of the Epstein files. The rest of the files are off limits because there's too much in there that could literally affect Trump's agenda. Trump's trying to save the country. Releasing those files, it's not about fucking kids. That's not the primary focus of those files. It's the science in the files. What were the experiments they were doing and why? And that right there could destroy our entire America First agenda. Then what? Where were we when the Democrats were in charge? That's where you're in a hurry to get back to, where pedophiles are being protected like Gavin Newsom was doing until Trump came back. Senate Bill 145, removing the penalties from people who are caught sodomizing children. Look it up on your phone. Senate Bill 145. That was making its way east until the Republicans took over. They were trying to pass that in other states. It's the law in California. That's why I can't take people seriously. How are you complaining about the Epstein files, but you're not saying shit about the Senate bill where they actually passed a law to protect pedophiles? You're just pretending like that because you have a hatred for Trump. It's not because you care about kids. You can give a fuck less about them. Those files are actually hurting us. And then again, we can't really make heads or tails because there's no whistleblowers because Epstein's still alive. See, when someone's dead, no one's afraid of retaliation. When someone's dead, no one's afraid of consequences because they're already dead. No one's saying shit. Again, we can't make heads or tails. People are resigning because they'd rather resign and let the public think that they're pedophiles than to actually break the code and tell what they were actually up to. See, a lot of these people weren't rich until Epstein. They made money because of him. If you could see the future just 2 days, if you could see the future into 3 days in the stock market, do you know how much money you could make? A person that could tell you, remember Back to the Future? Remember Biff's Almanac? Imagine if that was something that was real. Where would that put you in life? Where would that put your country if you're a world leader? How much prominence and influence? And what if there was one man that you found out has enough, could actually do that had that technology? What would you do for him? How much would you pay him? He's going to help make you rich. And then with money comes power. Yeah, these files, it was unnecessary. And again, there's going to be there's going to be so many distractions to keep you from reading them because, I mean, a lot of people are laymen's. I'm one of the only people that was able to read. There's a few other people in the think tank that I'm a part of. We're able to figure out this whole looking glass technology, the whole genetic algorithm stuff he was talking about. Nobody else is picking up on it. Everybody's just so tantalized by the pedophile stuff. Bro, they have laws protecting pedophiles in California as of 2019. Senate Bill 145. That's a normal thing now on the West Coast. Epstein did not pass any laws to protect pedophiles. Gavin Newsom did. So where are the Newsom files? The Epstein files, the reason they have to hide them is because of the whole killing off the blacks thing. Because they're going to use that to just slow down Trump's agenda. We don't need that. But other than that, there's no making heads or tails because, again, there's no whistleblower that's going to tell you exactly what's happened. The rest is just projection, unfortunately. Let's look at TikTok to see what some of these strikes are looking like.
بیتو زدن حرومیا یا اولفت داغ کردن.
See, and again, they're not bombing the entire country. They're not going to be able to. They're just hitting certain sites. Okay, where are the ground forces that are going to invade and hold the capital, hold the city, hold the square? There is none. America, we don't have troops. If you look at the makeup of our military, the conservative, the ones who are fighting for the country because they love the country, they all left because of the vaccine. All you have left were a lot of gays and a lot of blacks in our military who hate the country. They're only in there to get a check and they don't give two shits. They call the country racist and oppressive and they're BLM, Marxists, and communists. We don't have ground forces anyway. The IDF doesn't have enough power. So, yeah, we're bombing Iran. When are we going to send people there to hold down and occupy this? Look at the streets of Iran. Look at Tehran right now. Do those look like a bunch of men who are getting together, planning on storming the capital and removing the Ayatollah because the U.S. has started bombing? No. Those young people who were going to do that have all been executed. They had to execute them. This was on the horizon. They knew what was coming next. This isn't the first rodeo. We've invaded all the Arab countries. The Arab Spring. We've seen what happened in Egypt. when they didn't execute the agitators right away. They had no choice. Somebody's Abraham Lincoln's back now, says the Manhattan Project. Are you retarded? Wow. That just shows you how fucking stupid some of you fucking idiots are. You had no fucking idea that Epstein bought Zorro Ranch in New Mexico because of its proximity to Los Alamos. You had no idea that the Manhattan Project was being worked on in the early 90s to counter the Soviet Union. And when the Soviet Union fell, that's when they ended the Manhattan Project. Before you argue with me, why don't you look some of this shit up? When did the Manhattan Project end? It ended when the Soviet Union fell. And when those scientists were going to now be displaced and out of work, Epstein recruited them and brought them to Zorro Ranch. And that's what they were working on. They were using high energy physics and mathematics to figure out a way to see the future of the stock market. He was a financier. That was in 1993, long before Bitcoin, long before he went to jail. This is before he hit the lotto twice in a row. This is how you know the technology exists. And he proved it. He was able to, people were saying, oh, he rigged the lotto. Do you know how many people that would take to rig? Do you know how far up on the ladder and down of corruption of people you would have to pay? And then hopefully nobody ever snitches and discloses that they helped rig the lotto. That's too many people. They knew the lotto because they could see into the future, but not too far, only only certain places. And we don't even understand how that whole technology works. I don't even know if that's all. I don't even know if the explanation is all the way in the files, but I know it's in there. There's a lot of stuff in the files, and a very small percentage of it is about fucking kids. Do they eat kids? Some of these people do. Are they cannibals? No, because, well, cannibalism is when there's two humans eating each other. Some of these people aren't the same type of human as us. They're different. So it's not necessarily cannibal for them. It's just their food. So those are missiles that look like ships flying over Iran, flying over Iraq. That's crazy.
بیتو زدن حرومیا یا اقل داغ کردن.
وای وای یا خدا.
A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran.
You know, the fucked up part is about Trump. He can't even explain to us why we're there. He can't even justify. We're just there bombing on behalf of Israel. Is he giving us a full explanation? Not at all. Even he can't even tell us what we're doing there, the importance. Even he's not going to even lie to us and say, oh, this is to protect our own borders. Obviously, it's not.
Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties.
For what? For what? Why are we going to have casualties? Why are American lives potentially going to be lost? For why? Is Iran, are they building up soldiers to invade us through Mexico or Canada? Then what the fuck are we doing over there? This is not America first. This is the opposite. This is the problem. And these other fucking conservative influencers are literally silent. They're not on the internet right now talking to people. They're not on here explaining it. They can't explain it. They can't justify it. So what that means is that you're complacent. You're going along with it. You're just as bad. This is ridiculous. This is unnecessary. And this is against the America First agenda. I'm an America First, America only. Fuck Israel. That has nothing to do with us.
That often happens in war, but we're doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future.
Yeah, as if you can see the future. Like that looking glass technology. This is bullshit.
The United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people.
They said the same about Iraq, and they said they were, because Israel said they had WMDs, weapons of mass destruction. And they said, we are going to defend the American people from Saddam Hussein. It's like they always have to come up with a fake boogeyman to justify attacking people on behalf of Israel. Why? Every year, every president, everybody is doing their bidding. Why? The only thing I can think of, because again, after reading the Epstein files, is they have access. Because remember, Epstein's a Zionist. He worked with Mossad, but I think he was above Mossad. He worked with Israel, but he also worked with the United. He worked with everybody. And if that looking glass technology, his genetic algorithms, if it's true, then that seems like, okay, the United States want access still. So they do whatever we do whatever Israel tells us because we want access. I mean, think about it. If you knew there was going to be a huge disaster or some kind of attack, if you knew about it weeks in advance because you had some kind of technology where you could see the future, that's invaluable. That's invaluable. You can literally guarantee your safety, and then you can always be ahead of your enemies. I haven't seen anything else in the Epstein files. That's the only thing I was able to make heads or tails of, is when he was discussing the science of what he was doing on Zorro Ranch when he was in the Steve Bannon interview. And then they start talking about, and then he was close-lipped. He didn't really want to give much details. We know he spent 15 years with all those scientists from the Manhattan Project. He spent 15 years with them on his ranch in New Mexico. And everybody keeps talking to me about fucking kids and they buried some hookers. Okay, that's all fine. Okay, great. What about those 1,000 Manhattan Project scientists? No one wants to talk to me about what they were doing with Epstein. How did he even have clearance to recruit those guys? They're scientists who work for the government. How do you get clearance or permission to even communicate with those scientists to recruit them? Epstein doesn't work for the government. He's a civilian. All roads lead to my theories, and a lot of people who have not looked into it, just like they did my theories about the vaccine initially, they rejected me. Everyone says I'm wrong and I'm a conspiracy theorist. They say all these different things, and then it turns out everything I'm saying is absolutely correct. When I said the vaccine was designed for black people and only promoted to them, people thought I was wrong until now they're watching all the blacks around them die. But yet they're not dying. Yes, there's other people who are dying, but not at the rates of 13%. They're not. So again, we did not need to do this, but we're doing it anyway. And I can't support it. I support Trump. I support the America First agenda. Anything outside of the United States, I cannot support and I want nothing to do with.
Several waves of airstrikes so far in Iran, not just in Tehran, but also cities across the country and some sites that are believed to be home to Iran's missile silos. The strikes in Tehran, we are told, have largely been targeting senior figures in the Iranian regime, including the presidential compound, the security compound, and the Tehran residence of.
Yeah, I mean, maybe America First, it seems like a scam, but it's not. For the America First people, it's not a scam. But people who we think are America First, who are in charge, they're using it to scam. That part is a scam. I have to agree with you.
Iran's supreme leader, although Iranian officials claim that Ayatollah Khamenei is not actually in the capital at the moment. He is somewhere else in.
Of course he's not in the capital. Do you know they built an entire civilization underground. They have whole cities inside of mountains. They're not living on the surface and just waiting, knowing there are Zionists and Americans with drones and balloon and satelloons flying above them that can literally bomb them from. They're not there. They're of course they're gone. They're not going to have the president just. You're not going to see him sunbathing with his big ass fucking robe and his open toe sandals sitting out by the water. That's not how it's going to happen. All of this, unless this is being followed up with a imminent ground invasion, where we're coming in from the Persian Gulf, or we're coming in from Saudi Arabia, and we're going to physically, with manpower, invade Iran. All of this is pointless. All of this it's a waste of resources. It's a waste of time. Because the Israelis, their ego is bruised because of what happened back in June, and they're losing the fight against the globalists. The globalists, okay, remember, New York City was a Zionist stronghold since I can remember. Now the globalists have taken over. They've moved in the Islamists, and they've kicked out the Zionists. The Zionists eventually are going to be kicked out of Miami too. They're not going to have many more places to run and hide. Attacking Iran is not attacking the globalists. They're going to have to hit Davos. They're going to have to hit the World Economic Forum, and they don't have the capability to do that. They don't. So where is this leaving us? A waste of time and potentially a waste of life, of American life, for nothing. We are gaining nothing. Nothing's going to be gained from this attack on Iran. Nothing. No new technology, no new oil access, no new resources. We're not going to open up a fucking beach resort on the coast of Iran. There's nothing to be gained from this. Nothing. That's the part that makes no sense. That's why, it is a scam.
A secure location. This is a joint Israeli-US operation. US officials in the last few minutes confirming that strikes have been taking place from air and from the sea.
Yeah, you can't call Trump a pedo until he's been convicted of it. You can call Gavin Newsom a pedo. He passed laws to protect pedos. If you're a Democrat supporter, you can call yourself a pedo because you support Democrat policies that protect pedos. Trump hasn't endorsed or supported any policies to protect people who are caught having sex with underage kids. Trump's never been convicted of it. There's no victims for Trump. The allegations against Trump, somebody called into a hotline in 2024 and was just making up a bunch of fever dream stories. But it's not like this was old, original evidence that has to be investigated. It wasn't there. They looked into it. Don't forget, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they had the Epstein files. They hated Trump. If there was something in there bad about Trump, they would have released them back in 2022. But they didn't because there's nothing there. And now chasing this whole, you're so worried about what's going on with Trump and the Epstein files, you're fucking completely bypassing all the other information. They're talking about walking jerky. They're talking about eating. It sounds like they're talking about eating humans. Not all humans are eating humans. Certain particular people, apparently they can eat humans without catching Kuru or prion disease, meaning they're not really humans. And so that means they're not cannibals. It's just a food source for them. They eat regular food sometimes, but it really doesn't, they don't get the nutrients from it. It's like they're all a part of the same small group. You know, it reminds me of the movie of the Beauty and the Beast or the stories of Dracula. They all live in these castles and they kidnap kids from the villagers at night. And eventually the villagers all come together and they storm the castle. And look at us, thousands of years later, we're still storming castles over children because monsters are taking them. Nothing's really changed. There's nothing new under the sun. And even with all this advanced weaponry and the internet, we're not really doing much different than we used to as humans, as civilization.
One Israeli official told local media they are expecting several days of intense strikes. And this is a direct quote: Tehran will not look the same the day after. When the first strikes began about an hour and a half or so ago now, sirens rang out here in Tel Aviv and across Israel, people running for the nearest bomb shelter, something they have not had to do for quite a while. It was later confirmed that this was a precautionary measure because Israeli officials expect that Iran will retaliate with both missiles and drones. Several waves of airstrikes. So
وای وای یا خدا
یا امام حسین
شهر موشکی جمع زیدن
شهر مشکل یا خدا
I just woke up, but Trump and Israel are now launching missiles at Iran. Like, Jesus Christ, bro. It's like every time people doing things at 3 a.m. Is this man's favorite time? He even put out a late night message saying this.
The United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people.
Then he basically stated that he would never allow them to have nuclear weapons and that it's all out war. Also, from what has been told, the missiles have hit Iran's nuclear sites, their military installments, and command centers. So it seems like they're definitely trying to get rid of all their artillery, if you will.
And it's not going to happen. We don't, for one thing, Iran is not the United States. They're a closed society. We don't know where their bases are. We don't know how many miles down underground or inside of mountains any of these facilities are, and we don't have the capability to hit them. They already have access to nuclear weapons because their allies do. They could buy them if they were something that they could buy. If there was something that they needed, they would have them already. This is just another excuse. Israel should be disarmed. Israel should have their nukes removed. Why do they need them? Matter of fact, why was that one of the last things that Kennedy said he wanted to do was to make sure Israel never gets nukes? Next thing you know, Kennedy's assassinated. I remember when Charlie Kirk started talking bad about Israel. I wonder what happened to him. I wonder how he's doing today.
We'll say. Side note, make sure to join the Discord on my page if you want to be kept updated on all the news before I post it. And
تو زدن وای
I don't care what nobody says. Even Iran has a right to defend itself. Even Iran has the right to self-defense. This was a unprovoked attack. This was basically they struck first. This wasn't a retaliation from the United States. This wasn't us defending ourselves. We are the bad guys right now. We are the aggressors. We are working on behalf of apparently another foreign sovereign country that has so much control because they have something we need. I can't think of anything else Israel could have besides looking glass technology that we need. Because even before Washington, D.C. was looking up the name Tyler Robinson, a month before Charlie Kirk was killed, the only other country that was looking up that name Tyler Robinson, was Israel. So it's always Israel looks up these names first, then D.C. So either they're sharing information with D.C. or they're giving them access to it afterwards. But Israel always has the information first. Epstein worked on behalf of Israel. Yes, they say that he was a financier. A lot of his initial money came from working with Lex Wessner. Why would Lex Wessner just give him money? What was Lex Wessner's background? He's a Zionist from where? There's something greater going on, bigger than what we think of. We have a normalcy bias. We think that the only realm of possibility is the things that we know are possible. And there are certain things that we have not yet considered. That's why we've only received 2% of these files, and everything else is going to be redacted, or it's not going to ever be released. It can't be released right now. It can't be.
Short time ago,
I'll be honest, I don't even think the Israeli people want this. These people are literally trying to go on with their lives. The war in Gaza is stopped. They're trying to just move forward in life. They live on a beautiful sea. There's no chemtrails being sprayed in the skies above Tel Aviv or Haifa. So they're not sick like we are here in the United States, where they're spraying over us in these blue states constantly. They're literally just trying to live out there. They're trying to just maybe rub their sandals, put a little bit of hummus, eat it. They're not. Now they have sirens because a very small handful of Zionists decided they want to attack Iran. We don't want these wars. The villagers don't want the war. The beasts do. Yeah, you think MAGA's fooled? You don't think Joe Biden? You don't think Biden would have sent us into war? You don't think fucking Kamala Harris would have had us in the Ukraine getting smacked by the Russians? You don't think you would have been seeing American boys and girls in the meat grinder? And remember, it's not going to be the gay and the trans kids. You guys want to see straight, healthy American kids die in war, while the gay and the trans ones get medical exemptions to stay here in the U.S. You're not trying to send them to the front line. So don't sit up here and pretend like you're just righteous. No, you wanted certain kids to get killed, not others. Fucking sickos. That's why a lot of these people, you can't take them seriously. You can't even humor what they're saying. No, Israel as a whole does not want the elimination of the whole Islamic regime. That's bullshit. And the people on the ground, if you listen and you watch the footage, a lot of the actual Jewish people, the Hasidic Jews, they've been protesting against the attacks in Gaza this entire time. And they're also protesting against the aggression towards Iran. They don't want those wars. There's a very small regime of Zionists. The reason we call them Zionists and we don't call them Jewish is because they're secular. They're non-secular. They are people who hide behind the Jewish people, but they're not religious. They're atheists who hide behind the Jewish people, but they're not Jewish. They just hide behind them. Netanyahu doesn't follow the Judea religion. He's just a Zionist. He believes in the establishment of a country of Israel, even though Netanyahu's not even his last name. His family's from Poland and South Russia. They're not ethnically from that region. Completely different scenario. So a lot of people don't realize that, but for the most part, the majority of people in Israel are not against Islamic people or Arab people. They even know they're not the ones who are Semitic. The Palestinians are. A lot of them, yeah, the Zionists are fake victims, but they're not Jewish. They're not even Jews. Don't forget, you have Jews, and then you got people that they're Jewish, kind of Jews, but we're not. So there's a difference, and you can't just assume that just because these people live in this country that they support it. Look how many people live in the United States but don't support shit the president does, even when they should. It's the same thing in Israel. The people that are in charge, they are not religious, and they don't care about Jewish people or Palestinian people or Iranian people. They're psychopaths. They're monsters. But there's a very small group of them that are in control of the country. And if you try to, ever discredit them or criticize them, they'll use the Holocaust against you, call you anti-Semitic, even though they're not even Semites themselves. And that's how they're able to protect themselves from worldwide criticism. That's how they do it. Boom. Subscribe to the channel, please, so you guys can keep up to date. I'm going to be doing these videos all day long. This is insane. So this is we have a military base in the country of Bahrain, and Iran was not afraid to strike it. This is huge. Now, we don't even know. Now, this was about 40 something minutes ago. We don't know if there were any casualties, but we do know an American base in Bahrain, which is also in the Gulf, was hit. and we don't know if there was any casualties. But I know this: even if one hair on one head was seared by a little bit of fire, it wasn't worth it. None of this was worth it. They're telling the soldiers and people in the vicinity to shelter in place. Basically, get, and I mean, I don't know. I mean, unless you have underground bunkers, which I'm sure they do if they're in that part of the world. But again, our bases are being hit because we attacked another country unprovoked and unnecessarily. There's no benefit from these attacks at all. This is just ego bullshit. There's no one can even outline to us the pros and the cons of attacking Iran. We haven't heard shit about these attacks on Iran except for about the last week. And no one's explained to us why this is necessary. They're not in Canada invading to come south. That's the Chinese. They're not in Mexico invading to come north. That's what other countries are they working with right now? What was it? It's also the Chinese bringing in fentanyl from our southern border. We're not being threatened by Iran. So why are we attacking them?
The United States. To the great
Smoke is rising in Tehran after explosions were heard in Iran's capital and several other cities. The U.S. and Israel launched joint attacks on the country this morning. Sirens were also heard in Israel as Iran reportedly fired missiles in response. U.S. President Donald Trump urged Iranians to take over the government and told security forces to surrender.
And just like I said, the Americans only have air superiority. The Israelis only have air superiority. What they said was this: we bombed Iran and we're hoping the locals do an uprising and overthrow the government because we don't have the ground forces to even remotely pull off something so fucking crazy and ridiculous. We don't have the capability to do so. We don't. This is not Desert Storm. We're not going to just be able to pull up on the castle and there's golden toilets and a couple of guys, again, wearing open-toe sandals with hummus all over them, shooting some little M16s. No, this is a country with an actual military, an actual army, actual Navy, and actual Air Force. And they're hunkering down to see how much damage we can do, and then they'll respond. They don't want the Americans to know their full capabilities. They're playing coy, which is smart. I can understand why they're doing that. But if we're banking on those people who were executed coming back from the dead and helping overthrow the regime, well, then we're wrong. We're about 2 weeks too late. When the uprising happened, that's when these attacks should have struck. They waited too long, and now the people who they were hoping that were going to organize the uprisings, those people are dead now. They were executed swiftly. That's the smart thing to do. You don't keep people who are trying to overthrow you. You don't keep them alive and give them a chance to do so. That's not how, that doesn't make any sense strategically. And again, I believe Iran, even though I'm not from Iran, I'm American. I believe Iran even has the right to defend themselves against the Zionists. No one should just roll over and take it. Their sovereignty should be respected. I remember they were saying, oh, Putin illegally invaded the Ukraine, blah, blah. Shut the fuck up. Everywhere on earth, we've illegally invaded. Iran, Iraq, Libya. We're illegally occupying Syria right now, helping out Israel occupy a whole third of the country of Syria. But yeah, we're talking about other people being illegally invading. Shut the hell up. I don't want to hear it. None of it makes any sense. It just doesn't. And it's unnecessary, and it's an unnecessary waste of money and resources and attention that could be better spent here. We have our own fight in the United States that we're dealing with right now. We have psycho trans people killing people every single day, but we don't have the manpower, or we don't want to profile them, but they absolutely need to be profiled. We need to know who they are, and they have to be removed from society. Just the same way we're willing to invade other countries, we have to be willing to also make other drastic measures in the name of public safety here in the United States. You're not protecting American people by bombing a country on the other side of the world. You'll protect American people by removing certain people who have citizenship and speak the language that are in our society, physically removing them. That's how you protect the American people. The rest of this is just bullshit, and it's an excuse.
Lay down your arms, or you will face certain death.
Iran says it is launching extensive missile and drone attacks.
We got some breaking news, y'all, because Israel just bombed Iran. And now Israel is calling for a nationwide emergency because they know that Iran is not finna go like that. They sent one to them. Now they about to send it right back. And Israel is hoping that that Iron Dome that they spent that bread on is going to hold up. But that's not even the craziest part, y'all. The shit that got me thinking is this the start of World War III? Because y'all all know in the last couple of weeks, the United States were talking about even attacking Iran. And now since Israel just bombed them, are we going to get in it too? I be sitting here like, damn, fool, why can't we ever have world peace? And then I started thinking like, well, I know what's really going on, fool.
Yeah, world peace is bad for business if you're a military industrial complex. We have to be in a constant state of war. Trump's trying to start the board of peace. Yeah, we're going to have peace with Russia, but if Israel is still provoking attacks all over the Middle East, there won't be any peace. There can't be peace. As long as Israel is still on the board, as long as the Zionists still have control of the American arsenal, there is no chance for peace. There can't be. Israel's been attacking people since its inception. There's never been a time of peace and arrest for them. And there never will be. That's not what they do. This has been their first time they've ever actually had kinetic power. Sure, they had power over finances over the years. They were able to control the minds of kids and women using the gay agenda and feminism, even back in the 30s. That's the reason why all those books were burned, and that's why the camps were made. But the same thing's happening 100 years later. We're going through the same thing with the same people, except now they have the American military, which is insane because, well, they're pretty much at war with the world. The whole world is rejecting the gay agenda, the feminism, the trans for the kids and all. Everybody, the gay kids, the world rejects it. Israel's the only country that promotes and pushes it. The Democrats that protect them, that's their entire agenda. So now they want to be at war with the world. So it's not a world war. It's just one country trying to attack every country on earth that won't have pride parades in their countries. I don't know where this goes. Now, you notice they're hitting Iran during the daytime. I wonder what the nighttime strikes are going to look like. But you got to think they're also going to be hitting Israel with the strikes as well. It just doesn't even seem like the Israeli government really cares about the Israeli people. It's like they don't care what happens to them. The Zionists, they only care about the Zionists. They don't care about the Israelis. Because again, the Israelis, the actual, the Jewish people, they're against the wars. They're against what's going on in Gaza. It's only the Zionists who are in control of the IDF and their arsenal that want these wars. Nobody else. And do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, like the video, pushes it into the algorithm. We're going to keep watching these videos for the rest of the morning, but this is just insane that 3 in the morning, here we are waking up to another war. Now, I don't think this is going to hit world war because they're not going to be able to hurt Iran. Yeah, you can blow up some buildings, but it's not going to make the Ayatollah and the Iranian government fold. They're not that weak, and they have a religion behind them. They're fighting for their God. They're fighting for their way of life. There's only one Iran. Iran doesn't have colonies around the world full of Iranian people from Iran, and they're able to spread their influence. All their eggs are in one basket, and that's their country. Same thing with the Russians. And this is an existential threat when you have a country that are basically saying they want to wipe you guys out of existence. They claim you want to wipe them from the face of the earth, but here they are actually actively trying to do the same. So it's in Iran's best interest to make sure they completely defend themselves, or there will no longer be an Iran. They'll just be like Libya or like Afghanistan or like Iraq. You know the crazy part about Iraq? Did you know that the world's first heart transplant was in Baghdad? And they could never reproduce that in Baghdad ever again. They don't have the hospitals. They don't have the medical resources. They don't have the personnel. All of that was just wiped. And for what? What was the benefit? What was the benefit? What did we gain? Again, what did Obama gain when he killed Gaddafi and on TV, and Hillary Clinton, she laughs like a schoolgirl? These people are sick.
Whoa! We have some major news. It's the middle of the night in the United States, and Donald Trump just bombed Iran. He has seemingly declared war on the country, and here's everything you need to know. So first and foremost, this was a joint attack between the United States and Israel. The New York Times reported that dozens of U.S. strikes are being carried out by attack planes based at bases around the Middle East and from one or more aircraft carriers. Officials also said they expect this attack to be far more extensive than the American strikes that took place last summer. And here are some screenshots from Tehran showing explosions in the area. Here's another one. You can see a cloud of smoke right there. Here's another one on a phone that was captured. And here's one more picture reportedly from Tehran. Video.
You know, the crazy part is they're not, remember what happened last time when Iran started beating the dog shit out of Israel? Remember, they started arresting the people who were posting the videos and the pictures of all the buildings that were hit in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. And when they had military leaders that were killed because of Iran. They don't show you those pictures. Everything we're seeing now is of Iran. We are not seeing shit about what Iran has already done to Israel. Keep that in mind. They have been hit. This was not just a one-sided fight, but they're not showing you Israel because it could be even more extensive damage than what they've done in Iran. So we got to keep that in mind. The fact that they're not telling us anything about Israel, that says a lot to me.
Videos verified by the New York Times show strikes in an area of Tehran that houses the presidential palace and Iran's National Security Council, among other important government buildings. And finally, Donald Trump has spoken on the matter. He released an 8-minute video, and in this, he called it a war, saying, quote, "The lives of American heroes may be lost and we may have casualties. That often happens in war." He also called for regime change in Iran, telling people to pick up arms and essentially overthrow their government. Now remember, Donald Trump is the guy who said no more war, no more regime change, and in the middle of the night while everybody's asleep, he bombs Iran and seemingly declares war on them. I will keep
A short time ago.
Yes, it's all footage. Exactly. It's all footage of Iran. They're not showing us anything with Israel being hit.
Sovereignty, and they reserve the right to respond. So it looks like other countries will possibly be getting involved in this war. perhaps becoming a much more involved war with multiple countries fighting against each other.
Yeah, the UAE is absolutely correct. You cannot just unilaterally decide to attack other sovereign countries. Iran has targeted at least 6 countries after the U.S.-led attack. Yeah, these are all countries that are in the Gulf, that share the Gulf with Iran. And these are all countries that the United States and Israel have treaties with, and they are being allowed to use their countries to launch attacks at Iran. Now, Iran is a larger nation than these countries. The only one that's pretty large is the UAE, Saudi Arabia. But the rest of these are smaller nations, and they're basically they're like launch pads for attacks against Iran. If this is going to escalate, then yeah, Iran's going to have help. People are going to help.
Iran's payback campaign has targeted 6 countries, including Qatar, Jordan, Israel, UAE, Bahrain, and Kuwait. Obviously,
now we've already seen pictures of them. They've already hit Bahrain. Let's see who else they've hit. They've hit Israel. They've hit Bahrain. Let's see who else they've hit.
Iran is attacking the bases in some of these countries, but it appears that their missiles are also exploding in other places, at least that I can tell. I'm not sure if they're only hitting the bases. So that does mean that these other countries may now be at war with Iran if they choose to do so. The Iranian state has...
If you allow the United States to launch attacks against another countries, you've already declared war just by your cooperation. Now, the way you would not be involved in the war is if you would have just stayed neutral. If you would have just said, no, we don't want to participate. We want to stay neutral. We don't really want you launching attacks from our country. That would have been different. But if you're allowing countries, you're allowing their military to fuel up, to bring missiles because your proximity, well, then you're an accomplice. You're right along with them.
Dubbed this payback campaign True Promise 4. I'm not sure why it has a number and what that means. The Department of War, also known as the Department of Defense, says it's called Operation Epic Fury. We have major breaking news out of the United Arab Emirates where...
Well, it looks like Iran is being hit right now with strategic precision strikes on regime targets by the U.S. and Israel. Explosions are reported across Tehran and other areas. And the message to the Iranian people is clear. This is your moment. Come on, guys. I support the Iranian people, of course, not the regime. The world needs to watch this closely, in my opinion, because if these remain targeted strikes on military and regime strongholds, then there's a real chance this doesn't turn into a wider war, like the talking heads are saying. But instead, it opens doors for the Iranians to take back their country.
What does it mean for the Iranians to take back their country? They have their country. Take it back from who? Iran is being ran by people from Iran. Iranians are running Iran, not people from other countries, not Israel, not Americans, people from Iran. So what? They don't want to have pride parades in their country. So what? They want to outlaw pedophilia and people that have sex with children. That's a crime. So what? They don't live the same way we do. That means that you want to encourage who? Agitators or protesters who maybe have access to TikTok. You want to encourage them to risk their lives, risk getting killed so that they can do what? Dance on TikTok and not cover their hair and, stop having weddings, stop getting married, stop having families so they can live like the way we do here in the West, where basically our whole family structure is destroyed. You want them to live like us? That's what you want. What do you want for them? What would make you happy? That's what I mean. These people don't give any clear outline. They just speak so nebulous, and they project. They're projecting things that we don't even have ourselves here. We don't even have peace and stability. We don't even have it ourselves. And you want to encourage other people to be like us, unstable. We're in a constant civil war with ourselves. We don't know what tomorrow's going to bring in our country. The only thing that's keeping us, the only reason we haven't fallen is because we have guns and the First Amendment. If it wasn't for that, there wouldn't even be a United States anymore, because what would it be? That's what I mean. These people, we're in no position to give people any advice or tell them how they should live. That's ridiculous.
Some people say, we'll just install a puppet. Maybe they will and maybe they won't. But the real question is this. Do you refuse freedom because your fear what might come next, or do you remove oppression and let a nation decide its own future?
Says, what do you mean freedom? Do we have ultimate freedom over here? Black people say we don't. Black people say they're oppressed. So you haven't even addressed the, you haven't even forced remove the people that say they're oppressed here in the U.S. It's so that way you can force remove them and just give them freedom and remove them. That way you can, give them mercy. You haven't even done that in the U.S., but you feel like you have the moral high ground to tell other people in faraway lands that you've never met, different culture, different language, different religion, different beliefs, and you want to tell them how they should live. It's like the arrogance of these fucking people it's bar none. Like you'll never see it anywhere else in the world. It's amazing.
The Iranian people, they've shown extraordinary courage for months, protesting, resisting, risking prison, and many died. That kind of sustained resistance is rare anywhere in the world. This moment didn't appear out of nowhere. It exists because the Iranian people never stopped pushing. So let's hope this stays precise and targeted. Let's hope it ends quickly. And let's hope Iran emerges freer, safer, and ruled by its own people, not by fear. Watch closely. History may be in the...
Iran is already being ruled by its own people, you fucking moron. You know what's crazy? There's always somebody gay trying to convince people over the internet to do things that are going to get them killed. There's always somebody gay encouraging you to jump off a bridge, to jump in the line of fire, to go out and try to fight ICE agents and fight law enforcement. And they're convincing you that you can win and you'll be freer if you get yourself killed. So death is freedom. The way it works is if you don't like the rules of a certain country, you don't like the customs, you don't agree with the laws, you don't change the country, you change the country you live in. You can apply for visas. You can apply to relocate somewhere else. You don't got to smuggle yourself or sneak across a border. These aren't fascist nations where it's a closed society. It's not the Gaza Strip. People fly in and out of Iran every single day. Why would you risk your life when you could just go to another place? Same thing goes here in America. You don't like Trump. You don't like ICE. You don't like deportation. Then fucking leave. Go to another country whose laws you agree with. Why is there always someone gay convincing you that you're stuck there? So you should try to die to change it, to make it more gayer. It doesn't make any sense to me, but I notice it. Is this guy gay? Absolutely, in my opinion. He has those same Democrat gay horn-rimmed glasses, the haircut, the beard, and he's literally not on his way to go take his kids to go get something to eat or do something with his family. He's trying to encourage people he's never met that he doesn't understand to do something that's going to get them killed. It doesn't get any gayer than that.
Making at this very moment. Because if this works, a nation of 85 million people could wake up tomorrow no longer ruled by fear, but by themselves. And if it fails...
What the fuck do you mean ruled by fear? What, they are ruled by their own people. They are ruled by their own government. They can choose to wake up and leave. It doesn't get, what do you mean freer? What is free? What do you mean free? What does that mean to you? Because apparently it has a different definition than it used to. And these people are using these words, but they're not explaining to you that they mean something completely different. They're perverting the English language.
The cost will echo for generations. Let's hope they succeed. Well, it looks like Iran is being hit right now with strategic precision strikes on regime targets by the U.S.
Now there are reports of smoke rising in Bahrain, according to Richard Engel. So with that, I want to bring back senior national security correspondent Courtney Tubey. Courtney, I want to get your thoughts on the fact that we're now seeing the effects of this in Bahrain, and give us your perspective on what that means in terms of this now becoming more of a regional situation in the Middle East.
Yeah, so and Bahrain State News Agency is saying that the Fifth Fleet was subjected to a missile attack. And so Fifth Fleet is the headquarters of the U.S. Navy in the entire region. We talk about the Central Command. It's essentially the Navy's Central Command headquarters. So it's an enormous area. The ships there are no longer at port. You will frequently, if you go into Bahrain into the Fifth Fleet area, you'll see.
Now there are reports of smoke rising.
This may look like a celebration, but it's not. Iranians are dancing at funerals. This is how many families of protesters killed in the bloodiest crackdown ever by the regime are defying the Islamic Republic.
Now, this is when these strikes should have took place, on this day or the next day. They let these people go out there and protest. They pretended that they were going to have their backs and support them. And Israel and the United States got all these people hyped up, radicalized against their own government, and they got all these people killed. And because the Iranian regime is not dumb, they also killed off their relatives or their parents. They had to make examples of these people because it's not like the whole country is against their own government, just small factions who are becoming westernized. The poison of the West it's a mind virus where you become anti-family, anti-religion, anti-child, pro-gay, pro-trans. You become anti-human. That's a Western mentality. That's why it seems like everything is together over here until you actually go into one of our cities and you notice there's no more children and everything's weird and everything's falling apart and we have a population collapse coming. It's because of this Western mindset. The Russians fought it off, but it did infect those in the Ukraine. And what did the Russians say? We have to denazify and remove that mentality from their government. They had to do it physically. The same thing's happening now in this country. Iran had to physically remove those who have been affected by the mind virus. There was no subsequent follow-up of assistance from the U.S. and Israel at the time when the protesters, the agitators were still alive. They made their push against the government. There's no second and third wave of new young agitators who have been infected by the mind virus of the West via VPN, internet access, etc., who are now going to be willing to throw their lives away and risk getting their parents killed in another failed attempt at overthrowing the Ayatollah just because they seen that the Americans didn't come through the last time. Now they're bombing them, but it's too late. The people that were supposed to run over the government and overthrow them once the bombing started, you waited 2 weeks too late. Those people are dead now. There is nobody to go in. You know what's crazy? I've been noticing. I'm like, are you getting your advice from Patrick Bet-David? Because he's pretty much the only resident Iranian person that we know. He doesn't like the Ayatollah. He's a Christian. He's not a Muslim. Is he in a roundabout way advising the U.S. to do this? But why wouldn't he? Everything's about timing, coordination. They got all these people killed. They promised to do what they're doing today weeks ago. They didn't do it. All these people are dead. There is nobody to come in. Yeah, you can bomb Iran. You can bomb Iran for the next 2 months. They'll rebuild. We don't have IDF and American military who are going to just get into their military vehicles and just drive into Tehran. That's not going to happen. So how are you going to occupy and control these cities? You won't. So what is this? So then what is this called in the end? A waste.
From testimony we've collected over the past few weeks, we have found that families of protesters killed by the regime have been facing pressure and threats to change the story of how their loved ones were killed, to make it align with the state's narrative that it was U.S. and Israeli-backed terrorists, not the regime's forces that killed them.
That could be true. You got to think about it. Again, when I speak of the mind virus, these are people that are infected by Western ideology in other parts of the world. When you're infected with this ideology, you can basically be someone who was an agent of Israel or agent of the United States, radicalized, and you'd be considered a terrorist. You're literally trying to go against your government and use violence to create a political change. Why not just change the country you're living in? You don't like the way Iran lives, you don't like their government, you don't like their policies, then move. Go to another country that you enjoy. Go. But trying to but getting yourself killed to change the country instead of just changing the country you live in. Again, you have the right to move. Live where you're appreciated, not where you're tolerated. If you don't feel like the United States is a great country and you don't like our policies on deportation, then the Spanish countries you're advocating for, move to one of them. Go live somewhere else. You want to live the gay lifestyle. You want to have pride parades. Move to Canada. If you're in Iran, you can become you can seek asylum. You can apply to move to other countries and just say, yeah, I want to be gay. I want to do all the things that are illegal in my country. I want to go do them somewhere else. They'll allow you to leave. You're not stuck in these countries. I've lived in 7 different countries over the years. You can go somewhere else. You don't have to stay. You don't have to die fighting the government. You can just move, leave. This is crazy.
Those families is that of 19-year-old Amir Hussein Saidi, a relative who we're not identifying for his safety, spoke to us from inside Iran.
The family were visited by Basij paramilitary forces and Revolutionary Guards. They told the father he was talking too much because he had been saying that his son was shot in front of his eyes.
He told us the family was threatened by authorities.
The forces were present at their ceremonies. Basij members and others stayed nearby. They even went to their house and threatened them, saying, "We have to announce your child as a martyr, and you cannot speak anywhere. You must not say anything unless you want your other child's fate to be the same as this one."
And in my audience, you guys are all pretty sensible. A lot of you guys are smart here. Do you understand why they went and seen these people and why they told them to not say a bunch of this stuff? Because if they start saying that, oh yeah, my son was killed, we're victims, and they start radicalizing other people who are going to be considering doing something, they're not going to win, just like his son. They're going to get killed too. It seems more so like the Iranian guard is basically trying to protect their people from jumping off the bridge the way this young man did. There was no reason for it. It's pointless, futile. Resistance is futile. If all you're going to do is hype up other people to just get themselves killed, you're not going to enact any change. Nothing's going to be any different. You're going to basically encourage other people to commit suicide against us. So they're trying to save the lives of their own people. Again, instead of dying, why don't you just move to another country and live instead of dying?
With the help of Iranian human rights groups and activists, we also...
Yes, it's difficult, but so is attempting to overthrow your government, knowing that's not going to happen. That's also difficult. But you're going to have to do what you have to do to survive. That's how life works for humans. We do what we have to do to survive. These are a lot. Now, to be gay in Iran is illegal. A lot of these are kids they want to live trans. They want to live gay. They're infected by the mind virus. They want to go live. They want Iran to accept them. That's not going to happen. You're going to need to move. Canada will take you. And unfortunately, as of today, the United States will still take you. But do we want more of those people? No, they're going to get over here. They're going to get on welfare. They're going to be perpetual victims. And eventually they're going to target children. That's what they all do. That's a part of their MO. Don't believe me? Ask the group Gays Against Groomers. Why does that group even exist? Because they target kids. That's a part of the culture. Oh, you thought they just wanted to get married to one another? They don't even get married to each other anymore. They hunt kids together. There's a difference. And these mind virus people, this virus comes around every so often in every society. You have to remove it surgically. You can't let it fester.
Obtain text and audio messages from more than a dozen families.
They spoke of being coerced into blaming the deaths of their loved ones on foreign-backed rioters, to label them as, quote, martyrs. For some, to say that the deaths were accidents.
Who's to say, he said, let's hear, Swag-tastical said, dude, if people didn't do that, civil rights wouldn't have happened. Who said civil rights was a good idea? I didn't say that. I didn't say integration was a good idea. I think civil rights and integration were both horrible U.S. policies that destroyed Americans of different races for generations. Forcing people who culturally should not be in the same vicinity of one another to have to interact with each other. Look at the chaos. Look at the chaos. Look at where our country is today. Fuck worried about what's going on in Iran and Israel. Look at what's happening in America right now. The cultures will never be able to coexist. They never have. The only way it's working is that there are people who live capitalist lifestyles, white Americans, and their tax money goes to pay for Black Americans to live a Marxist communist utopia in the hoods and in the ghettos. Their money goes to subsidizing their housing, their EBT and their SNAP food benefits. So their food and their housing is free, and they get a little bit of change from the government every month. They claim disability, so they don't have to work, which is why when you talk to them, they all sound, they speak a weird, broken version of English because they're not professionals. They don't have to be professionals. They don't work. I'm not saying all over the country, but they have their communist enclaves throughout for their communities. Those communities should have never been able to coexist in the first place. They should have stayed segregated. They're literally calling for self-segregation right now. They want Black only this, Black only that, Black only graduations, Black only dorm. Civil rights was a failed idea in the first place. DEI was a failed idea. The NAACP, all this shit was a horrible idea. None of it worked. And it sounds like, but what do they tell you? Well, we had good intentions. What do they tell you the road to hell was paved with? So, yeah, I don't agree that those two things were good at all.
Many face threats and pressure to claim falsely that their loved ones were members of the volunteer Basij paramilitary.
I don't believe any stories of slavery is flag-tastic. I don't believe in Sojourner Truth. I don't believe in Harriet Tubman. I don't believe in the movie Roots. I don't believe in Chicken George. I don't believe in Kizzy Kente. I don't believe in Kunta. I don't believe in Amistad. I don't believe in 12 years or 13 years a slave. I think all those stories are fake. You are heavily invested probably in the buck breaking part of it. You like thinking that white men were tying you up and screwing you, or your great great grandpappy and just dog walking them, dicks everywhere. That's your fantasy. But most normal people, if you add that whole gay aspect of it, they say, you know what, the slavery stuff doesn't even sound realistic to me. Doesn't make any sense. Because to believe in slavery, you have to believe that the white overseers were gay and the bug breaking stuff was actually happening too. You can't have it both ways. You're either to believe in the slavery stuff is to push the gay agenda. It's all gay. None of the slavery stuff is not, there's nothing about slavery that isn't beyond gay. Super gay. So I personally, I don't see the evidence of all that gay slavery stuff. I even look at pictures of Black people were taking in the 1850s. And I'm like, I thought they were all wearing rags and poor and slaves. No, a lot of that shit's fake. A lot of those stories are fake. And they conflate terms. They reclassified people who were indentured servants who had agreements with property owners. And they were like, okay, we're going to tend to the land, but we're going to live on the land for free. We had agreements. It wasn't just walking around with whips and all that. That's a lot of that shit's all fake bullshit. There's no evidence of it. There's no evidence of the transatlantic slave trade at all. There's no evidence of boats that had people chained up, eating their own feces with no water, and they lived for 3 months while they crossed over the Atlantic. Get the fuck out of here. None of that stuff makes any sense at all. Do I believe in the Holocaust? To be honest, a lot of those stories I used to live in Europe. I used to live in Germany. And even when I went to Auschwitz, even when I went to these places, they tell you that there's a discrepancy in the numbers. Also, they don't tell you who were in the camps. They don't even tell you which books were being burned. I know who was in the camps. I know which books were being burnt and why. I know who Magnum Hirschfeld is. Because of that, I don't deny it. I understand it. There's a difference.
Force, which is affiliated with state security.
Of course, intimidation by the Iranian regime is nothing new. But this time, human rights groups tell us it's a systematic campaign that appears aimed at controlling the narrative.
Oh yeah, I don't like Martin Luther King at all. I'm not a fan of MLK. He fucked over all the blacks in America for generations. They've never recovered. I mean, look how stupid swag-tackalistic is. He's a fucking moron. He's a direct reflection of how Martin Luther King took a shit in the black gene pool in the United States, and they're literally now still floating around in fecal matter. And I don't think they're going to ever recover mentally. It's kind of like the mind virus that the Iranians who are trying to attack their government. Imagine a whole demographic that was infected with that here in the United States, and they call themselves a color. They're not swag-tackalistic. He's not even an American. He's a black. Blacks aren't American. They have citizenship. They have they speak English, but they deny being American. Well, what's their latest saying? Not my anthem, not my flag, not my country. So they're a color. They have no ethnicity. They have no nationality. They have no religion. They're just a color. And they're not even actually that color. Their skin color doesn't match the color that they're saying. So they're confused. So yeah, I'm not an MLK fan either. That doesn't. He's also he's one of the first that turned them into communists, and he was a trained communist himself. How far did that get him? How far did that get them at all as a whole? Didn't get them anywhere.
And concealing the scale of state violence. This may look like a celebration, but it's not. Iranians are dancing at funerals. This is how many families of protesters killed in the bloodiest crackdown ever by the regime are defying the Islamic Republic.
From testimony we've collected over the past few weeks, we have found that families of protesters killed by the regime have been facing pressure and threats to change the story of how their loved ones were killed.
Donald Trump is about to open the gates of hell. And moreover, when the Russian Navy is in the Straits of Hormuz performing naval exercises with the Iranian Navy, will be a war without end. This will be a war without limits. This will be a war without territorial boundaries. This will be
And that's another big problem, is that the Russians are actually in the Strait of Hormuz, and they're actually training with the Iranian Royal Guard. So now they're conducting airstrikes against targets in Tehran. They haven't hit any. They haven't hit any water targets in the strait, because if they do, then that could be a direct attack against the Federation. Now, the Russian Federation has literally destroyed all of NATO. All of NATO has been fighting against the Russians for years in the Ukraine. The Russians won. NATO overall has been demilitarized, and there's no replacing all the weapons that they gave to the Ukrainians that have been lost. So they don't have their tanks, they don't have their Leopards, they don't have their missiles, they don't have their guns, they don't have their they don't even have a lot of their jets anymore. They gave them all to the Ukraine. In the Ukraine, the Russians found out where they were, the depots, and they destroyed them all. Now the Russians are going to have to be on the offense, because it seems like the West is not going to stop until the Russian Federation is destroyed and they can divide up Russia and turn it into the next Libya or to the next Syria. So if it's in the Russians' best interest to neutralize these threats that are getting too close, the Russians cannot allow Iran to fall, because that would literally be putting Americans on their doorstep, which was the whole purpose of the invasion of the Ukraine, was to what? Keep Americans off their doorstep. We're biting off more than we can chew, and we don't have teeth anymore. We're a paper tiger at this point. We have air superiority, yes. But do we have full sea superiority? We do not. Do we have ground superiority? We do not. We can't even recruit anymore. Only because of Hegseth, we've been able to meet recruiting quotas for about 2 quarters now. But for years, we couldn't recruit anymore. There's no one in our military but blacks and gays. The ones who were still there that didn't get kicked out by Hexet, those were the trans. They're not willing to fight. They're not willing to die. If anything, they will defect and they will join the other side against the Americans because they're going to see American as white people. Anybody who's not white in our military, there's a chance they will defect, join our enemies, and try to attack anybody who's white in the American military. That's how fucked up things are in this country as we speak. And if you say I'm wrong, you're in denial or you're just not paying attention. But that's why I'm here to help clear this up for you.
A war that will spread like wildfire right across the region and right across the world. Donald Trump has assembled more than 1/3 of all American armed forces in or heading rapidly towards the Persian Gulf. Donald Trump is about to open the gates of hell. And moreover,
Israel.
I appreciate you guys who are here. Thank you all for being up with me on this live. It is 4:50 a.m. here in Arizona, here in Scottsdale. So thank you guys for all being up and watching these videos. And the fact that we can sit here and have these conversations and explore where this could possibly go. We don't know. Once we go to bed, we don't know what we're going to wake up to. So we have to prepare for anything. But the only way we can do it so we're not caught off guard is by having these conversations. So if you agree with me and you're starting to see things the way I see things and we're on the same page, subscribe to the channel, like the video. Thank you to all my new subscribers. Thank you guys who have been sharing the video and liking the content. I thank you all for being here. I have more. I do these videos all day, every day. I'm a relatively new channel. I get a lot of views. I'm monetized, but I'm still fairly new. I just do a couple of ad reads and I just talk to people all day. I'm building my own network. I don't trust CNN and I can't depend on Fox anymore. And since Tim Pool, who used to be my go-to guy for information, well, he's compromised. He's attacking Candace and we're calling her a demon like Bon Vagino and the rest of these fucking idiots. So you can't trust them. So now I have to join this my damn self and make these videos, which is not what I planned on doing. I would rather be at the casino with my girlfriend right now, but I have to do content. I have to talk to people. These are conversations that need to be had. And well, we can't trust anybody anymore to do it. So we have to do it ourselves. Now we find out of our favorite political commentators are on the payroll of Zionists. They're getting money to trash certain people. And it's like, well, then you can be paid to say anything. Well, then how are you any better than fucking Don Lemon? How are you better than Wolf Blitzer and Anderson Cooper? How are you better than any of these people? You're not. You're the same. So because of that, now we have to do these videos ourselves. We have to build our own audiences. So that's why I'm here. So I appreciate you guys who have been tuning in. Whether you agree with me or not, just you being here, leaving comments, this is actually pushing me into the algorithm. Pause. And I do appreciate you guys for tuning in. Like, subscribe to the channel, watch my other content. Let me know your thoughts. I have some more videos coming up in a few hours, but we're still just going to go over these Iran videos because this is crazy. This is happening right now. And what if one day you wake up and you turn on you turn on my live and I'm reporting on the city you're living in and there's black smoke because there were attacks in your city? Where would you go? What would you do? Where would you get water? Do you have gallons of water stored up in your house where if the electricity was out for 3 days and that means there's no water pump, because you need electricity for water to run through your house, right? If there's no water for a few days because of an attack or anything, you know, would you and your family be fighting in the grocery store over diapers and trying to figure out how to get water, or would you be prepared? This is why we have these conversations and we talk to each other, because things can change quickly. And but because there's a normalcy bias, people assume that safety is a guarantee. It's not. It's not. So.
De Staten hebben samen Iran aangevallen.
This is my last update on Iran for the night. Here's what to expect. It's important to remember that Iran has been preparing for just this scenario for decades now. It's likely that the response will be multi-theater, meaning happening in many different places at once. Also, it will be targeted at multiple stakeholders.
Yeah, I've been called that. Thank you, Stormy. Good to see you. Yeah, I've actually been called. I try to be as pragmatic as possible. I'm just not emotionally moved by anything. I don't feel anything. I'm a man of logic, so I'm pretty grounded, and I try to just look at reality. I don't have any emotional clouds in front of me based on color or anything because that clouds everybody's fucking vision of the world. Mine is just it's crystal clear. I just see straight through the prism, and I see that there's nothing wrong with just being prepared because anything can happen. At least have water. I mean, I've lived in other countries and we didn't have power temporarily. I didn't realize the toilets don't work when the electricity's out. When the electricity is down, your plumbing will work, but the water that is pushed into your home from your treatment centers, that is with the electricity's gone, that's gone too. The water's not going to come out of your faucets in the sink either. So how much water do you have? Now, personally, I have a water guy. I keep at least 5 gallons at a time, and then I order more water that I'm drinking, but I have reserves. If anything, you want to have water. 20 million, a rough estimate is almost 20 million strangers came across our border under the fucking idiot Democrats. Under the gay Democrats, Biden and Harris, pushing vaccines, pushing abortions. They opened our borders. At the borders, they found tens of thousands of ID cards. That means the people that came in, they all created new identities for themselves. They didn't go through customs, so there's no background check. You don't know their name. There's no fingerprinting. You have no idea who these people are. You don't know when they're going to be activated. You don't know if they're, dormant cells that belong to groups out of Iran, you don't have China. You don't have no idea who's here. All you know is that they don't know you. You don't speak their language. They don't speak English. They don't talk to you. You don't talk to them. They could live next door to you. You have no idea if they're studying the plans for your local water treatment center, your local where your power, where your grid is located. They could take a car and drive into the grid. It would literally take a year to rebuild those components. Our grids have never been modernized because you would have to shut them down and then rebuild them. And with all the electricity being used now from electric cars, and we're just completely dependent upon electricity, it would be easy to cripple us. And now we're literally attacking these countries that sent all these people over here. And they sent these people here for a reason, but no one's asking why. But then you guys want to stop the deportations. Just prepare for the worst.
Hezbollah in Lebanon will likely attack Israel, while the Iranian-backed paramilitary groups in Iraq will attack American bases. These groups include the Popular Mobilization Units as well as Kitab Hezbollah. Now, the three stakeholders. On the U.S., Iran will impose maximum economic pain. This means attacking assets and potentially shutting down the Strait of Hormuz. Against Israel, we'll see more direct kinetic attacks in the form of missile barrages and drones. GCC countries like Qatar and the UAE and Saudi Arabia, it's likely they will be targeted due to the fact that they are hosting American air assets. Please share and follow for more. This is my last update on Iran for the night. Here's what to expect. It's important to remember that Iran has been preparing for just this scenario for decades now. It's likely that the response will be multi-theater, meaning happening in many different places at once. Also, it will be targeted at multiple stakeholders. Hezbollah in Lebanon will likely attack Israel, while the Iranian-backed paramilitary groups in Iraq.
Notice he said stakeholders. That's globalist talk. Shareholders is what Zionists would say. That's our normal system. He's saying the word stakeholders. So he's actually in favor of the World Economic Forum and the globalists. He wants to see Israel fall. Subsequently, you would have to go through the U.S. For Israel to fall, the U.S. would have to falter. That's the scary part. I fucking can't stand the Zionists. But the fact that we're tethered to them, where our fate and their fate, we're basically intertwined. So if Israel goes down, that means America went down too. And if America goes down, and then for Israel to go down, you got to go through America first. That's the scary part of this guy talking, because when he's using words like You don't accidentally say stakeholder instead of shareholder. You purposely say that. That was said on purpose. So you got to listen. You got to read between the lines sometimes and listen to what people are actually saying. Let me rewind it for a second, actually.
Also, it will be targeted at multiple stakeholders. Hezbollah in Lebanon will likely attack
Stakeholders.
Israel, while the Iranian
Stakeholders, not shareholders.
backed paramilitary groups in Iraq will attack American bases. These groups include the Popular Mobilization Units as well as Kitab Hezbollah. Now, the three stakeholders. On the U.S., Iran will impose maximum economic.
Yeah, you're right, Stormy. That's exactly right. They want you to think that conservatives or anybody who's white, who's a prepper, who's preparing for the grid to go down, preparing for when there's going to be food shortages, for whenever we go to war with these other countries and they decide to cut us off or do anything with our supply chain, they want you to think that you're a psycho because you're preparing. I spent thousands on food that can last for 25 years. And there were times when we were snowed in and we actually ate it and it was good. It was actually good food. And we didn't have to leave the house. Didn't have to go fight in the grocery stores with people. There was no DoorDash at some of these times. So at least we had access and luckily we had water. But they want you to think that these people who live outside the cities and have been preparing for the UN and for these invasions to happen, because it's a reality. It can happen. The reason it can happen is because there's no unified front in America right now. You got half the country. Well, it seems like half the country, but you have a third of the country is black and gay. If you look at how many blacks and gays who they hate the government, they want revenge for slavery. The gays are going to use the blacks, the determination for revenge against white people in the government. They're amplifying it, and they're trying to use the blacks as their attack dogs to kind of over the same thing you're seeing happen in Iran. They're trying to get the blacks to do it over here. Why do you think you keep seeing all these shows and movies about a fake slavery? It's like they're trying to keep these people in a constant state of anxiety and anger. But for what? It's all for a reason. They want these people mad for something because they're going to use them as a weapon against us eventually. That's coming. If you think Russian and Chinese tanks invaded the United States right now, you think blacks would grab weapons and stand next to white people to defend the United States? Then you don't know any black people. You don't know any gay people. You don't know any trans people. These people would literally go jump on these Russian and Chinese tanks and they'll start twerking. And then they would help them look for anybody who's white or has an American flag, and they would literally help them hunt you. You don't know your neighbors. And that's why I keep pushing for Trump to remove birthright citizenship so we can start removing these anti-American people from the country who have been protected by the 14th, the birthright citizenship. We have to remove them. They're a security risk every single day that they wake up here in our country. And here we are being forced to coexist with them, and things are only getting worse. But I'm the bad guy for pointing out the obvious. Well, then that's fine. Say hello to the bad guy.
Pain. This means attacking assets and potentially shutting down the Strait of Hormuz. Against Israel, we'll see more direct kinetic attacks in the form of missile barrages and drones. GCC countries like Qatar and the UAE and Saudi Arabia, it's likely they will be targeted.
Little MZ54, you are incorrect. Stakeholders are the attackers hoping to take them from the region. It's actually deeper. I'm actually dumbing this down for you. It's actually deeper than that. It's not less deep.
Due to the fact that they are hosting American air assets. Please share and follow for more.
First update to the strike on Iran. It has been confirmed as a joint USA-Israel strike. Dozens of casualties to the Islamic Republic, including many senior members of the IRGC, have been confirmed. There has been confirmed decapitating strikes, specifically decapitating strikes, and these strikes are being reported as all or nothing this time. 30 targets, it's actually a lot more at this point, but 30 targets across Iran have been struck so far, including the Iranian president's residence. Some reports are saying that he might be dead, but that's not confirmed. A Ministry of Intelligence, IRGC command centers have been hit, IRGC intelligence centers have been hit, government offices in Tehran have been hit, an airport in Mashhad has been hit, cruise missiles from Syria have been launched by the U.S. The U.S. has also reportedly been launching from Iraq as well. There's reports of drone strikes on the ground in Iran. In the coming 24 hours, it's said that Iran will get bombed more than the duration of the entire 12-day war. All phones have been...
Now, you see, he said they're launching strikes from Syria. But when Bashar al-Assad was in charge of Syria, they weren't able to do that. So by the Russians and the Iranians allowing the Americans and the Israelis to invade Syria, now they're able to use Syria to bomb Iran. So if the Russians and the Chinese allow Iran to fall to the United States and Israel, well, then they're going to be able to now launch attacks from Iran into Russia and eventually at China. That's why you can't allow these countries to fall, because they're going to just keep bringing in their military assets and they're going to use that location to launch against you. That's why they have to stop. They have to come together. See, I want them to come together as a deterrent so that we stop attacking them. I want our administration to stop attacking people on behalf of Israel. And I don't necessarily know how to stop them. I don't.
Cut off in Iran, not surprising. Farsi channels have been cut off as well. In fact, it was a Farsi channel talking about the drone strikes when it got cut off. Reuters report says Khamenei was taken out of Tehran and transferred to a secure compound. Fars News 8.
I agree. This is going to end bad. And it's crazy because we just want to work and live and take care of our families here in the U.S. We don't want war. We don't want the distraction. We want peace. We don't want this bullshit.
Agency officially confirmed explosions are now heard also in Isfahan, Kermanshah, where else? Karaj and Qom, where the nuclear facility has been attacked. This operation, it's reportedly will take 2 to 3 weeks, it seems. This time, let's hope we will be allowed to finish the job. I feel confident because, again, it's being reported this is like an all or nothing, and it's confirmed to be Israel and the USA together, and USA is launching all over the place. Oh, and there's also reports, sorry, there's a lot of news. I'm trying to get it to you guys. There's also reports that French and British jets are headed towards Yemen right now. I'm not sure what that's about. Maybe it's like possible they think there's going to be a retaliation from Houthis, so they're just preparing. This is big. I'll try to get you guys more updates. It's like first update to the strike on Iran. It has been confirmed as a joint USA-Israel strike. Dozens of casualties to the Islamic Republic, including many senior members of the IRGC, have been confirmed. There has been confirmed decapitating strikes, specifically decapitating strikes, and these strikes are being reported as all or nothing this time. 30 targets, actually a lot more at this point, but 30 targets across Iran have been struck so far, including the Iranian president's residence. Some reports are saying that he might be dead, but that's not confirmed. A Ministry of Intelligence, IRGC command centers have been hit, IRGC intelligence centers have been hit, government offices in Tehran have been hit, an airport in Mashhad has been hit. Cruise missiles from Syria have been launched by the U.S. The U.S. has also reportedly been launching from Iraq as well. There's reports of drone strikes on the ground in Iran. In the coming 24 hours, it's said that Iran will get bombed more than the duration of the entire 12-day war. All phones have been cut off in Iran, not surprising. Farsi channels have been cut off as well. In fact, it was a Farsi channel talking about the drone strikes when it got cut off. Reuters report says Khamenei was taken out of Tehran and transferred to a secure compound. Fars News Agency officially confirmed explosions are now heard also in Isfahan, Kermanshah, where else? Karaj and Qom, where the nuclear facility has been attacked. This operation, it's reportedly will take 2 to 3 weeks, it seems. This time, let's hope we will be allowed to finish the job. I feel confident because, again, it's being reported this is like an all or nothing, and it's confirmed to be Israel and the USA together, and USA is launching all over the place. Oh, and there's also reports, sorry, there's a lot of news. I'm trying to get it to you guys. There's also reports that French and British jets are headed towards Yemen right now. I'm not sure what that's about. Maybe it's like possible they think there's going to be a retaliation from Houthis, so they're just preparing. This is big. I'll try to get you guys more updates. It's like first update to the strike on Iran. It has been confirmed as a joint USA-Israel strike. Dozens of casualties to the Islamic Republic, including many senior members of the IRGC, have been confirmed. There has been confirmed decapitating strikes, specifically decapitating strikes, and these strikes are being reported as all or nothing this time. 30 targets, actually a lot more at this point, but 30 targets across Iran have been struck so far, including the Iranian president's
Yeah, this is happening, and this is unfortunate. Let's see if there's some other. I want to play some of these other videos.
So just above me right now, we can see what we believe were 4 missiles intercepted over Doha's West Bay. This is a really popular area. A lot of expats live here. A lot of locals, Qatari locals live here. We've received 2 messages this morning from the U.S. Embassy here in Qatar. The first one saying to shelter in place. The second one saying missiles imminent. We believe those missiles were shot down by air defense missile systems, but now we're seeing 4 additional
what we believe are missiles from Iran being shot down above us. Qatar's National Emergency Alert System has also sent out 3 messages to people's phones, telling them to shelter in place until the danger is past. So just above me right now, we can see what we believe were...
A massive conflict is erupting across the Middle East right now after the United States and Israel launched what's being described as a major military operation against Iran. This all happened Saturday morning as the U.S. and Israel began conducting strikes. Dozens of military targets have been hit, according to the Israeli military. And we also know that Iran's retaliation is now underway, with Iran firing missiles at U.S. bases in the Middle East and also firing a barrage of ballistic missiles aimed at Israel, sending millions of Israelis fleeing to bomb shelters over the course of this morning. This is all unfolded very quickly, only about 2 hours between those initial U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iran and Iran's missile retaliation, as President Trump is saying that Israel and the United States are going after Iran's ballistic missile program, its nuclear program, and also critically creating the conditions for potential regime change in.
Yeah, we suck at regime change. Iran, being a sovereign nation, has the right to have ballistic missiles. They have a right to have nuclear missiles. They have a right because they are a sovereign nation. We cannot say, well, the rules for thee are not the same rules for me. Israel can be nuclear armed, but you can't. Who the fuck's going to just accept that and say, oh, yeah, that makes sense? So you can end up like Gaddafi? So you can end up like Saddam? So you can end up like Bashar? You want to end up like the rest of these leaders who have been assassinated and invaded and their countries destroyed? These were wealthy nations at one time, with citizens and educated people and hospitals and advancements and medical and in science. And these places are now destroyed because we were allowed to, well, you know, I wouldn't say we, but our regime was allowed to just wipe these people out, and there was no retaliation because it seems like globally a lot of people want to keep the peace, except for the Zionists. They have a bloodlust. And because they have the ear of the United States, probably due to the genetic algorithms that they have control over, the U.S. wants access to the looking glass. So they do whatever they're told. Because why else would this doesn't even make sense.
Iran. All of my sources are currently telling me that this is a massive operation, something far beyond the scale of what we saw during that 12-day war between Israel and Iran back in June. A massive conflict is erupting across the Middle.
Holy shit. Did you guys see this? Yeah, the Zio NWO is gay. Absolutely. And how do people not know this? Why am I the only one to tell people, like, the whole thing is about pushing pride parades in these countries? Which countries don't allow pride parades that are left on earth? China, Russia, Iran. No one notices this whole gay agenda is being pushed. The whole depopulation of humans, the gay agenda. Remember, gays don't have kids. Your kids are gay. You're never going to be a grandparent. There's no more people. It's over. We're approaching a population collapse. There's not too many people. There's not enough people. Look at now. This is on Al Jazeera, so you're not going to see this on any Western news station. You're not going to see this on Fox or MSDNC, or I don't even think the Young Turks are going to play this. Anna Kasparian. You're not going to see Cenk Uygur say anything about this. Look at this. Watch this, guys. That is an American military base in Bahrain. They were hit hard as fuck. That means there was no air defense. This was a direct strike. Look at that blast. Whatever building was hit, Lord help anybody that was inside of it, because they didn't survive. Nobody. And this is Al Jazeera, so you're going to see things you're not going to see on other stations. They don't want you to know. They want you to think that Iran is weak and that they can just walk right over them and these other countries. They don't want you to know that these countries are hitting back, because what it's going to do is it's going to encourage other nations that were afraid. It's going to encourage them to say, hey, we this is our chance to join them and to help them fight against this great evil. Because when you're attacking unprovoked other countries on behalf of another country, it doesn't really get much more evil than that. It doesn't mean your citizens are evil. It means the people that are in control of your arsenal are. And I'm not saying Trump is evil, but when it comes to this, Trump's not a president anymore. Netanyahu is.
Okay.
Look at that blast on a military installation of the United States. Jesus Christ. You talk about a direct hit. Direct hit. Was it worth it, Trump? Was it worth it? If an American loses a finger or a toe, was it worth it so you can bomb Iran for what? What do we get out of it? What do we get? I understood what we got out of Venezuela. That's in our hemisphere. We can't control these other hemispheres anymore. This is a tripolar world, not unipolar. What are we getting out of attacking Iran and then forcing them to kill our soldiers? What did we get out of it? What are we gaining? Is it anything strategic? Is it anything monetary? Is it any resources? Or is it just for pure fucking ego because you want to have access to some of this? Well, the Israelis say that, oh, they're the greatest ally because they have intel. And what if you found out their intel was some device that Epstein created that could help them see the future? I mean, Epstein created Bitcoin. Who else to say what other inventions he created? He was a mathematician and obviously a brilliant scientist and researcher, and he had access to the greatest minds of our century, the men who were working on the Manhattan Project before the Soviets fell. Because there's no Soviets no more, no need for a Manhattan Project. They weren't Russians at the time, they were Soviets. Now, because we want access to that technology and we want to remain allies with Israel, we do whatever they tell us to do when they tell us, and they tell us they know better because they can see the future, so we should listen to them. Like, at what cost? And when does it stop? It doesn't seem like it does. If they hit an American barracks, if they hit a store, if they hit a command center, if they hit an office, that's an American installation that was hit. Now, if you're looking at this footage since this is from the distance, this seems to be about, I would say 3, maybe 4 miles away, zoomed in, and look how massive this explosion is. So that means in person, this blast was huge. There are definitely casualties from this blast in Bahrain that they're playing on Al Jazeera TV. There's no doubt about it. There could be hundreds of casualties or injuries, and they're not going to tell us because they're going to destroy Trump. They're going to say he unprovoked attacked this country illegally. He got Americans killed, and Bibi doesn't give a shit. He's laughing. He's over in Israel. He doesn't give a fuck. But they're going to torture Trump. They're going to literally destroy him mentally, and they're going to shame him into they're going to shame him into oblivion, because they're going to keep bringing up how many Americans were killed unnecessarily in this blast because we provoked an enemy that we had no business attacking because they weren't threatening us. Because all you would need if you're a Democrat is to find someone like me, someone who speaks multiple languages, that can actually speak English clearly, and that can articulate what actually happened, break it down, and say it in a way that's simple and easy to comprehend and understand, and then let you argue with the facts, let you argue with the information. You're not arguing with me, you're arguing with reality at this point. That's all you would need is someone like that, and then there's not really much of a rebuttal. Then they're going to call for Trump to be impeached and all this other bull. Like, this is all it's a lose-lose for Trump. Yeah, the Israelis will be mad if you don't do it, but if you do it, you're screwed too. And you're not showing force because Iran is not threatening us. This is a show of weakness and fear. And it's a waste of resources. We get nothing from this. This isn't Venezuela. We get nothing. This isn't Greenland. We get nothing. They hit an American base. That's an American base that was hit. This is insane. So Iran is actually firing missiles at American bases all across the Middle East. And apparently we gave all of our own missile defense systems to Israel and to the Ukraine because we don't even have them set up at our bases in the Middle East. Because how are there all these direct hits if we have air defense batteries around our bases? We're so worried, but we think that everybody's afraid of us. We don't even protect ourselves. We're thinking we're untouchable. And now someone reached out and touched us. I'm not saying it's all Trump's fault. I'm saying Trump could have said no to Netanyahu. He didn't have to do this. This was unnecessary. The Iranians are not prank calling Trump in the middle of the night, threatening him on the internet. The Iranians are living their life. As far as we can tell, they're no direct threat to the United States. They're only a threat to Israel. Everyone's a threat to Israel. Let the Israelis tell it. Everyone's an anti-Semite trying to kill them, and everything in the world was promised to them 3,000 years ago. Trump is basically, this is the art of the deal. He wants access to that looking glass technology, and he's doing what he can to keep the relationship good with Israel. But is it even worth it at a certain point? Because how many lives is it going to save versus how many lives it's going to cost to have it? I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it. So this is they hit the palace for Khomeini today, the Ayatollah Khomeini, and this is the blast where they hit his palace. He wasn't there more than likely, but this is how it looks. You know, it's funny. There's a list of countries they said the United States has attacked. Let's read over it. Because I'm looking at these countries and I'm like, are any of these countries in better shape today and are just ultimately, they have us to thank for their success? And the answer is no. So it says the United States has attacked El Salvador in 1980, Libya in 81, Sinai 82, Lebanon 82 and 83, Egypt 83, Grenada 83, Honduras 83, Chad 83, Persian Gulf 84, Libya 86, Bolivia 86, Iran 87, Persian Gulf 87, Kuwait 87, Iran 88, Honduras 88, Panama 88, Libya 89, Panama 89, Colombia, Bolivia, and Peru in 89, the Philippines 89, Panama 89 and 90, Liberia 1990, Saudi Arabia 1990, Iraq 1991, Zaire 1991, Sierra Leone 1992, Somalia 92, Bosnia Herzegovina 93 to the present, Macedonia 93, Haiti 94, Bosnia 95, Liberia 96, Central African Republic, well, I guess it used to be Congo 96, Albania 97, Congo and Gabon 97, Sierra Leone 97, Cambodia 97, Iraq 98, Guinea Bissau 98, Kenya, Tanzania 98, 99, Afghanistan and Sudan 98, Liberia again 98, East Timor 99, Serbia 99, Sierra Leone again 2000, Yemen 2000, East Timor 2000, Afghanistan 2001 till the present Yemen, 2002. Philippines, 02. Côte d'Ivoire, or Ivory Coast, 2002. Iraq, 2003 to the present. Liberia, 2003. Georgia, Djibouti, 2003. Haiti, 2004. Georgia, Djibouti, Kenya, Ethiopia, Yemen, Eritrea, War on Terror, 2004. Pakistan, drone attacks, 2004 till today. Somalia, again, 2007. South Ossetia, Georgia, 2008. Syria, 2008. Yemen, 2009 through 2015. Haiti, 2010. Libya, 2011. Syria, 11. Ukraine, 2014. Iraq, 2015, etc., etc. Now Venezuela and Iran. So who is the real danger of the world peace? I hate facts sometimes, and that's a fact. I'm actually going to share this on my Facebook just so I can reference it later, because these are some good stats. You know, the thing is, these politicians, they run on keeping us out of wars, and then once they get in power, they have no problem attacking people and bringing us into conflicts. It's like they all lie, and unfortunately, Trump did the same. This is unnecessary. He knows Americans have war fatigue. We're tired of fighting. We want to do business. We don't want to go to war. Let these countries live how they want to live. We live how we want to live. They should have the same right to do so. We should not be intervening every time every time Israel feels like they're having a pissy fit. We shouldn't do that. The U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet Service Center and 3 other American bases were subjected to missile attacks, according to Bahraini state news. Oh my God. A service center. Now, luckily, this is Saturday morning. Hopefully, nobody was at work. But
here's your third update for the strike on Iran. Gholam Hossein Mohseni-Ejei, the head of the judiciary in Iran, was eliminated. He gave the death sentence to thousands of protesters, and now he is gone. There are many reports of riots in Tehran now, and many of the Persian people and others are taking to the streets to fight for their country. Reza Pahlavi earlier gave a speech about how he will be in constant contact with his people of Iran to ensure they know when to stay sheltered and safe and when to continue the direct fights. I don't know if that's what they're doing or if people are just being motivated. Iran has shut down the internet and cellular services, of course, so he is using radio waves and I'm sure other means to talk with them. If this isn't a video right here that makes you emotional and proud of and for the Persian people, I don't know what to tell you. Here's women laughing on a rooftop in Tehran. Really not just laughing. You could feel their joy when they saw the Supreme Leader compound get hit. Take a look.
I don't know if they're happy or if they're sad. I don't know. The mind virus, it makes it hard to tell.
Being a confirmed missile hit. This is actually fake news. This was from a bus fire that was hours before any strikes even happened. The Houthis announced that they will join the campaign. So, Qatar has intercepted an Iranian missile. Yes, you heard that right. Qatar intercepted it. Meanwhile, Iran is currently launching missiles at everyone. Bahrain, UAE, Qatar. Many civilian casualties are likely to be incoming, unfortunately, because their missiles are awful and they're kind of just crashing out right now. And they are just aiming at everyone. Jordan, too, was hit, I believe, and the IRGC just wants to piss everyone off, it seems.
Are you fucking retarded? These are all countries that are literally staging the attacks against Iran. They are absolutely supposed to be targeting all these people. These are the people that targeted them. What are you talking about here?
The evil Islamic Republic murders their own indeed. But some will have you believe they wouldn't do it to the United States if they had the chance. We can't allow them to ever have that chance. Anyways, as for the explosions in Bahrain, it seems to be confirmed that the U.S. base was hit, but luckily it seems to be in an open area, so no damage or casualties. Here's the hit in Abu Dhabi. An Iranian app for tracking Muslim prayer times has been hacked. Messages are encouraging IRGC members to defect, and they say protect your compatriots, and they will protect you in return. Another message says help has arrived. Another, it's the time for reckoning. airspace clearing after strikes by the United States and Israel and Iran. A lot of airspace clearing in the Middle East. There has been some videos from Israel showing missiles headed their way, and so far it appears the Israeli air defense is working very well, and most have been intercepted. Not all, like right about some open field hits. Again, everything is changing by the second, so just as I'm filming this. Here are Iranian teens cheering and celebrating the U.S. Israeli strikes as they watch the Islamic regime strongholds go up in smoke, screaming, "I love Trump." And here is the bomb shelter.
And those kids are likely going to be rounded up, because if they're not rounded up, then a year from now, when they're a little bit older and bigger, they're going to be a problem for stability. And as a nation, as a government, your priority at all times must be stability. You cannot let people who are going to destabilize your nation run amok and try to find others that they can bring onto their side to assist them. You got to literally deal with the problem as it comes up.
We're in central Israel this morning, and Shabbat Shalom, everyone. And, you know, it's amazing. Everyone, keep your high spirits and stay safe.
Look, do me a favor. I'll be back on. I'm going to talk. We're going to do some more topics. We're going to go over this war. We're at let's see how long we've been on so far. We're at 2 hours and 15 minutes. I'm going to actually do some more research. We'll be back on with some more videos and data in about 30 minutes. It's sad that it's come to this, but we do got to discuss it. And it's not an easy conversation to have. Thank you all for leaving comments and having conversations. I appreciate you all. Remember, it's America first and America.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.